Salute is a program for and about men and women who have served our country. Our program includes news about the laws that affect veterans, information on benefits and services, and news from veterans organizations. And now, our host, Bob Peters.
Hello and welcome to Salute. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and with me today is Mr. Harry Lumpkin, who is a retired bird colonel from the United States Army.
Yes.
I thank you for coming on the show, and you're also the first vice president of Chapter 1036 of the Vietnam Veterans.
Right, here in the villages, right? That's correct, yes.
Yeah, in the villages,
yes.
Not right here. We're not in the villages.
That's right.
But yeah, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, Harry? I met you at USA Cares. You were talking down there, and I thought you were very articulate. You're a good speaker. But you've had a career that requires that, doesn't it?
Yes, I've been blessed enough to serve in the United States Army for 26 years, achieved the rank of full colonel, had numerous great assignments in the Army, commanded at all levels all the way through colonel. A couple interesting assignments I had, and I'll just touch upon those. One was being an assistant professor at the United States Military Academy at West Point. There I had the privilege of developing a program to assist the integration of women into the academy for the first time. That was really an interesting and challenging time. The program was very successful. The women did absolutely fantastic, and they've gone on, many of them, to be great leaders in our military services. Another assignment I think that seems to bring about a lot of discussion and interest is my time I spent in the Pentagon. I was on the Army staff as well as on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But while on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I had the privilege of working for General Colin Powell. I was his logistics briefer in the thing they call the tank, where we meet with all the service chiefs and all the great decisions are made and discussed. And I was the representative from the logistics community of all four services, and I took those issues to General Powell and his members there to make decisions. And the final major assignment I think I will talk about is as a colonel being in command of the drawdown of Europe. In Europe, we had, at the time I was there in 92 to 95, we had over 1.1 million Army personnel on the ground and their family members. And we received a charge from the Chief of Staff of the Army to draw down Europe to 65,000 people. And it was supposed to be a 5-year program, but we were asked to execute it in 3. We closed 486 posts and installations and got that equipment out of there and on storage sites and pre-positioned and distributed to our allies around the world. I tell you, so I've had a fantastic career, a lot of exciting things, and would not do it differently if given an opportunity.
Yeah, I tell you, I'd like to meet Mr. Powell, Cole.
Yes.
You know, General Powell. You can get him on my show for me.
I'll see what I can do.
Tell him we're not necessarily big time, but we'd like to have him on the. We'd love to have him on the show.
You know, I tell you what was interesting, and everybody wants to know about how is he like he appears on TV and things of that nature.
Is he?
Oh, he is. He's very people oriented. What impressed me about him, as well as all the service chiefs that we had there, was their ability to connect all the dots. See, when we talk about issues, by and large, in our normal discussions, we may talk about the budget. We may talk about how many troops we would have, how many bases we will maintain. And we look at it as a single point, and we deal with that. But they had the unique capability of integrating all those various facets as they evaluated it, and they always took in consideration the plight of the service members, their families, our national objectives and goals and objectives, our relationships with our friends and allies around the world, and they connected all of those dots. And what may seem to be an easy answer to some question may not be as they go through that process, but they were very good at it, And I felt proud to be in the room to watch it. I mean, I didn't contribute other than doing the briefings in the Pacific area, but to watch that process was something that I will always remember.
Yeah. I know you had a great career, but let's go back to the beginning. Where were you originally from?
I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, my neighbor's from Baltimore. Yeah.
And I tell you, I had a great time there, great parents who brought about a great deal of pride in what we did, a great work ethic. I think my parents set the goal for me and my brother to do some interesting things in our lives. They sacrificed to make those opportunities available for us. And that's why I am so involved with things like the Vietnam veterans, because I understand what it is to give back. Because there are people who made a difference in my life to give me an opportunity to get where I've been blessed enough to achieve. And going off to Vietnam, for example, my community, my church, and the guidance that I received from my parents made a difference for me when I went there, and the troops that were under my command. And thank the Lord, all of them were able to come home safe to their families and their relatives. And that was because I believe a strong faith in God, a great desire to do the very best for others, and being selfless in giving to others those things that I have been blessed with being able to share.
Very well put. And, I'm a firm believer in family foundation.
Yeah.
My parents didn't have hardly any money, but they took care of us, and I was very blessed with a lot of uncles who were World War II and everything, so the importance of family is very big. Yeah. Now, you got out of high school. You went to college for ROTC,
yes, I went with,
how did you wind up in the Army?
Well, at that time, back in '65 to '69 time frame, I went to college in Maryland, Morgan State University. I was in ROTC, and I enjoyed it. I met the love of my life there, Connie, who we've been married for almost 45 years now. We've been blessed with 2 sons. And the Army, initially, I wasn't designed to make it a career, but when I initially was commissioned, I was commissioned regular Army. And there were 2 groups there. There's reserves and there were regular Army. Mm-hmm. And about 5% of us were commissioned in that regard, which gave us a 3-year obligation. I initially went in as an infantry officer and then transitioned over to a logistics officer in the Quartermaster Corps. And so that career was pretty exciting. Starting right off from the beginning, I was in ROTC, a brigade commander of the largest ROTC department in the state of Maryland. And so I had a lot of mentorship and guidance as I went along through the first facets of my career, and went into the Army airborne and Pathfinder and all those good kinds of things, and went off to my infantry assignment.
And you did a couple of tours over there?
I only did 1 tour in Vietnam, mm-hmm. And it was an exciting tour. My job was, as the commander of the Quick Reaction Force, we would descend into areas where helicopters had been shot down with soldiers. We would go in, oftentimes bring out our soldiers or military that were there. Then we would make an assessment of the helicopter that was down. We would then determine whether or not it was repairable. If it was, we would get it airlifted back to a depot operation there where it was repaired, mm-hmm. or we would destroy it to make sure it was not usable by any of the enemy at that point in time.
So you did 1 tour there, and then where'd you go after that? You didn't just go. You just didn't wind up in the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Oh no! When I came back, it was an interesting time. I went off to my Quartermaster Advanced course. That's the mid-level courses for us, and then from there I went to the Army Joint Staff College, and from there they sent me off to graduate school. The Army was good to me. I have so many things to be thankful for. They sent me off for 2 advanced degrees. They sent me into the Army War College. And so I was a recipient of a lot of good things from the Army. And so I was really committed to giving back all that I could. We worked long hours. We worked hard. But the payoff was vital to giving a contribution to our national goals and objectives and to our young soldiers and their families. And with my wife there at my side as a team, we were able to influence, we hope, many young families as they progress through this institution called the military. And I think that was important to us. It was, I hope, and important to them. And our kids enjoyed it. We moved, and I got to take my hat off to my wife, Connie. We moved 23 times in 26 years.
Wow.
I mean, she had this thing down like a science, and but she made
tough
sure.
time figuring out where the sofa was, right? He moved it again. It's another house.
Yeah, but she knew how to make all of those things happen for us, and kept our home life stable so that I could do the things that I needed to do as a professional soldier.
You know, I had the honor of going up to Fort Benning, and that's one thing I noticed up there when they had a section for the families.
Yeah.
In fact, one young lady that is a friend, she was a classmate of my daughter. And my daughter told her I was down there. She took us around. And what they do for families, how family orientated it is. You know, when I was in, I was 19, and I was not married or anything, so the family issue wasn't really, But nowadays, like all the services, they stress the family.
Oh, it is. The stress on the military member today is probably as great as it ever has been.
I think more so.
Yeah. When we went in, we saw a tour roughly unaccompanied, like once every 7 years or so. The young military person today are turning around tours in an unaccompanied area, oftentimes where conflicts are, every 12 months. They're going back. And the other spouse on this end has to pick up the slack. And they're doing a great job with that. But we're trying to do a good job of putting support systems in place that can help them with those issues, because that's important. It is hard for them when their family members are overseas to give that kind of support that they need to give to their spouse that are engaged in combat, as well as keeping the home fires safe and secure and working well.
I give a lot of credit to these men and women who are in the armed service nowadays. You read about them 4 or 5, 6, deployments.
Yeah.
And it's a strain on the family, especially when kids are involved and everything. But God bless them.
Oh yeah, we really.
But I also, we talked enough about the Army.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, you could talk about the Army.
I could talk about them all day. That's right. I love it.
I also wanted you to talk about the Villages Vietnam Veterans chapter, and you are the first vice president.
Yes.
I went there a couple weeks ago, and there was like 250 people there.
Oh yeah.
It was.
I tell you, this is a great organization, and I'm glad to be a part of it. We started in March of about 3 years ago, March of 2010, and we looked at the national goals and objectives, and the goals and objectives and the principles set around that no veteran would ever abandon another veteran in this generation. Okay, and so we tried to figure out what we could do to make a difference here in the villages. And so we got together, we started this chapter, and we looked at a couple things I thought that was important, that became important to me, and that's why I got involved. One, we need to make sure the issues and benefits that are available to veterans are known. 2, we wanted to make sure that our veterans were comfortable about coming out of their shell and explaining who we are and how we must function in order to take advantage of that. 3, we wanted to change the perception we believed existed in people's mind of who a Vietnam veteran was.
Oh, he's a drug addict.
Yeah, that's right. and 4, we wanted to participate as an active member in our community, and we've done those things. And you know, this chapter has over 325 members. We are the largest chapter in the state of Florida. Of the 24, and we're one of the largest chapters in the United States.
I was going to say, you got to be right up there.
What was really interesting, there are 24 chapters in the state of Florida. And one of the greatest honors that we as a chapter have received was to be recognized by all of those other chapters as the 2012 Chapter of the Year. We had the Best Membership of the Year award. We had the Best Member Award, Outstanding Member of the Vietnam Veterans of the State of Florida Award. We received the Outstanding Newsletter of the Award of the Year, and the runner-up for the Outstanding Website Award. So we swept all the awards.
Yeah, that's great.
And that is because we are about doing veterans business here. And the veterans, I think, understand that. They are comfortable with that. There's no one here doing anything for themselves for personal gain. It is helping each other. We're involved in all kinds of activities. And what has been neat here is the villages proper has accepted this group, has supported this group, and has made our contribution to the community very valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are some of the programs you do? I mean, the time I was there, Mr. Cato, your chaplain, my friend, your friend, put a request out for blankets and stuff, and you guys, came through like storm busters.
Oh, yeah.
But what are your normal things you do, like Boy Scouts, anything like that? You support any?
Sure. Let me just share just a few of the things that we are involved in. One, we are in Operations Helping Hand, and that is helping the hospitals in Tampa that deal with soldiers who have critical brain and spinal injuries. Mm-hmm. We are very involved with them, not only financially, but going down, visiting, spending time, giving resources to assist that program. Project SOS, which Gary Cato, Support Our Soldiers, we're there. With Operation Shoebox, we're working with them. We are collecting food for the needy veterans. For the holidays, for the last 2 years, we have collected over 2,000 pounds of food and dry goods that we have taken and shared with our community's food banks that's helping our veterans across the board. We are also involved in helping the people in the forest. We collect toiletries and as we know, with the blankets and things to make sure that is helping. But we've also linked up with other organizations. We reach out, for example, my wife's Zumba class. There was a group that one of my cadets who I taught at West Point was now a commander in Afghanistan and was talking about how those soldiers in that unit were spread all over and were not getting large units of care packages to them. So we teamed up with our Zumba, my wife's Zumba classes, and we sent over 400 pounds of goods and services, and items over to Afghanistan to help those young people. In addition to that, we're engaged in things with our Adopt a Vet, Adopt a Kid with the school systems here. We give 4 scholarships to the kids in the area of the local high schools in the Tri-County area. We give our time for supporting Habitat for Humanity as we're building houses in the area for veterans. We're really involved in the Honor Flight program, where our guys are volunteering their time and their own personal resources to be escorts of the World War II veterans going up to Washington. And so we're doing those kinds of things reaching across all lines. We don't care if they're Vietnam veterans. We're homing in on them, but we're concerned about all veterans. You know, those coming in from Afghanistan and those who have been our mentors and people we looked up to from World War II. And for many people who think about the Vietnam veterans, you know, we were caught off guard, I think, when we came home from Vietnam. I caught off guard from the perspective that as we looked at what we thought would happen as a result of our selfless service in the Republic of Vietnam, helping our nation meet its goals and objectives, we had as a framework, you know, the Audie Murphy movies, the Patton movies, and, you know, the Eisenhower movies, and our soldiers returning to ticker tape parades and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, when we were kids, that's what we saw.
But when we came home, came home to protests. We came home to people spitting on the veterans, because the Vietnam veteran was a person that they could personally attack, because the government policy, they couldn't deal with the protesters by and large. But they could, in fact, attack the veteran. And it had such a stigma to many of the Vietnam veterans that when they came home, many of them, before they even walked out into the airport, they go into the bathroom, take off their uniforms, and throw them in the trash can or hide them. And they didn't want people to know. And many of them were suffering with all kinds of PTSD and post-stress syndromes, but they couldn't tell anybody. Nobody wanted them to think that they were a part of what people perceived was such a horrible event. And war is horrible.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
But as the saying goes, my friend, you may question the war, but never question the warrior.
That's exactly right. And so now we don't want that situation to exist for others. You know, and I tell you, the Villages is a great place. Something occurred to me in my personal life, and as well as to many of the Vietnam veterans here in the Villages. We were walking, they were asked to participate in a parade in the Villages. And you know, the guys, oh my goodness, a parade. Half of us are limping, and and your back is injured, and all those other things that go along with age over time and many injuries. But we decided to go ahead and do it. Well, I had never seen such an outpouring of patriotic support as it was when we marched in that parade. The villagers stood up. They all clapped and they cheered and they said, "Welcome home." And all of a sudden, all of those injuries these guys appeared to have seemed to go away for a few minutes. Their backs started to straighten up. They felt very proud of what they did and the contributions they made. And people were saying, "Welcome home." And that means a lot to us. It means a lot to any veteran. And if there's anything that we could encourage our people to do, is to thank our veterans. If you see them walking around, just tell them, "Welcome home," and thank you for your service. You'd be amazed what that will do for us, and what that will do for us in helping to mentor our young people who are coming along.
I do that all the time when I see an active military person. I go up to them and say, "Thank you for your service," and they generally they look at you and they go, "Well, thanks." You can actually see it, And I think a lot of Vietnam veterans, I pretty much say just all of them really, because of our experiences, we want to make sure when these men and women come back, they get the real hero's welcome that they deserve.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
A lot of us, well, not I, but a lot of the Vietnam veterans were drafted. They did their tour, went home. 4, 5, 6 tours now you're seeing these people.
That's right, yeah.
And I give them all the credit in the world.
Oh, I agree. Our oldest son returned from Iraq, and we went to meet him at the airport in.
Oh, you have a son in the Army too?
Well, no, he was Navy, a Navy pilot.
A Navy pilot. Wow, God bless him.
Yeah, and so his unit was coming in. We were at the airport in BWI in Washington, outside of Washington, in Baltimore area, and we were waiting, and we were all excited. The family was there, and all of a sudden, everybody in the airport broke into applause. they were clapping, they were welcoming them. They didn't know these kids coming in, but the kids looked, I mean, they were so excited. And I stood back and thought how important and where we have grown as a nation. As a nation now to take care of our young veterans.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Oh, it is, so much so. Yeah.
So was your father in the service?
No, my dad was not. My several of his brothers were in there. And just a quick little story, my grandmother, who passed away at 95, just before she died, I was promoted to colonel. And she said, Harry, she said, I don't know what this thing everybody's making a big deal of being a full colonel in the Army is all about. She said, but when you make sergeant, like my 8 sons did in World War II, then I know you will have accomplished something. And we all got a big kick out of that. My soldiers loved the story because the enlisted soldiers of our armed forces are the backbone of our nation's fighting forces. And they make a difference, and they allow us to accomplish so much. A lot of times you hear a lot about the officer corps, but it is that enlisted corps that is solid and strong, that is right there carrying out the orders and objectives of our nation's objectives there.
Amen. I'm almost out of time.
God.
Being that we're almost out of time, I want to make sure you get your website out there or any other information, contact if somebody, wanted to join the...
Sure. We definitely, we meet every first Tuesday of every month at Lake Myona here in the Villages at 7 p.m. It's open to all villagers. Please, if you know of a Vietnam veteran, or not just a Vietnam veteran, but Vietnam era veteran, please invite them to come. Our website, www.vva1036.org. Or you can give me a personal call, Harry Lumpkin, and my cell phone is 540-809-2448.
Very well put, my friend. Now, unfortunately, we are out of time. So we have to go.
Yeah.
But before I go, welcome home.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all you're doing for our military members.
Well, so for all our active military out there, their families, and our veterans and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time. We are now entering our 3rd year salute here at Lakefront TV. We've had many great guests and veterans organizations share their stories with us. We'd like to hear from you too. If you're a veteran or a veterans organization, Lake Sumter counties, please give us a call. Lakefront TV can be seen all over Lake County and the Villages and worldwide at lakefronttv.com.